I just want to say before we start the afternoon session that we've just been joined by a group of teachers and professors and university administrators from across different parts of Afghanistan. So I welcome our group, which has been doing a training program here on campus for the last several weeks, to this conference. If everybody's ready, we'll get started. This afternoon's conversations are going to be around creating an institutional environment supporting interdisciplinary research. We are honored to have Professor Catherine Mitchell, who is the Vice Chancellor of Derby University, with us, and I invite her now to deliver her remarks, please.
I don't know if I can quite reach them. I haven't got a presentation. Like all Vice Chancellors, we don't have presentations. First of all, I would just like to say an enormous thank you to OP Jindal Global University for actually hosting this, and actually it's a great privilege for me and some of my colleagues from the University of Derby to be here today. I was actually given a brief just to sort of say hello, so I have gained some insight as we've been sitting here this morning on some of the things that I would like to just, in a sense, provide some commentary on in terms of the importance of creating the right environment for research in universities, and actually how we should look to develop that in its global sense. But I think we need to start by thinking about, do we really know what universities are for now? And I think that we have to remember, and particularly for people in my role, that universities are about teaching and research. We actually have a privileged role where we should be challenging what is going on in the globe. We have the capacity and the capability, if we truly believe that we have excellence in our institutions in terms of our knowledge base, that we can't just sit back and let things happen. And the opportunity that we therefore have is we can all become very businesslike, which we are challenged, I think, on a daily basis, no more so than in the UK at this moment in time. And I can't even mention the word Brexit, because a no-deal Brexit in the UK is just dire. But I think every country in the world has got a challenge similar to Brexit, so I don't want to go on about it. But what I do want us to consider, particularly as leaders and leaders of research, we do have an opportunity to make a difference to how the rest of the world continues to look at new knowledge and use that knowledge. And so I think that we have to be bold and we have to be brave. But the only place that we formally can create new knowledge are in our institutions, where it is formally recognised through our publications. But we are challenged probably by how we get the funding to undertake that type of research. In the UK, many of my colleagues will say it's a very challenging time to get funding, that it's very difficult to know where the next grant's coming from. And my personal journey sort of tells you that it's changed dramatically for me in the UK from when I started out. I finished my degree at York University. The Wellcome Trust at the time offered 10 scholarships nationally for people to apply for. And I was a very dizzy graduate. And my supervisor said, "Oh, I think you should apply for one of those grants." And I said, "Well, I don't really know what I want to do." And he said, "Oh, what are you interested in?" And I said, "Alcohol," as a joke, and I ended up on a very big research grant looking at alcoholism at the Institute of Psychiatry in London. But what it did lead me to was a 15-year funding from the Wellcome Trust. And what it did lead me to was to be able to work at the Rockefeller Institute with a Nobel Prize winner and actually at the University of Chicago. And the reason I want to tell you why that's important is, you know, I'm a girl from the northwest of England, from a very poor background that hadn't had education, but what it did mean that I understood transnational research and the importance that research cannot stay in one country. It is totally invaluable as a very limited, single viewpoint from a one national product. And when I worked at Rockefeller, I worked for Paul Greengard, who became the Nobel Prize winner. And not that I had anything to do with that, but he put us in teams of 3. And we were on shifts from 6 till 2, 2 till 8, or the night shift. And every Friday we had to present our research, and the team that won, which is interesting by the word won, then got the pick of the shift for the next week. And of course the team that won got the results that Professor Greengard particularly liked, okay? But it was an interesting culture. It taught me a lot about the importance of being very accurate in your research. And it taught me a lot about integrity. It taught me a lot about and the importance of integrity in research. And it therefore told me that you have to be honest if you really want to make a difference. Because there's no point in pushing out a whole load of research that actually, when it gets re-challenged, doesn't have any impact whatsoever. And so we have to have that total integrity. So what I would be saying is, when we're looking at research cultures in our own institutions, I moved from what was probably considered a very elite type of educational institutions in the UK to a modern university. The University of Derby is only 25 years old. But our culture now is very much about teaching and research. And in order to create an environment that allows that integrity, that allows that honesty, and allows us even to apply for funding in the UK, has got to be that it is excellent. There is no point in actually pushing out millions of papers that are not excellent. So I would rather do less research that is excellent than loads of research that is just about publications. So my personal view would be, when you're creating your research environment, it has to be as many students coming through on the PhD training programme as almost professors. Because actually we need to be assuring that we are developing new thinking, not just from the top, but from actually new brains coming into and challenging the way that we're thinking. How do we fund that? It's quite difficult. But I still think, actually, and in the UK, there is opportunity to gain funding. There is UKRI that's now been formed, that's brought all the councils together. There is quite significant sums in that. As the Vice-Chancellor of a modern university, I could challenge, I'm not sure that the funding always goes to the right places, but there is funding. So I have to acknowledge that I probably have to demonstrate excellence and partnership to get access to that funding. But the other concept for me around research is the concept of innovation. And at the University of Derby, we have looked at, is there a distinction between research and innovation? Because strangely, if I look at the funding we've received, we can get significant funding for innovation. Because we class ourselves as an applied organisation. So interestingly, industry actually has started to work with us much more effectively than my funding councils on giving us grants around innovation. And those innovations are in partnership with quite significant organisations. So we work with CERN, which for many of you, you might not know, and I know I'm in an arts-based talk, but clearly is the European Centre for Nuclear Research. And that's a relationship between CERN and the University of Derby and Rolls-Royce that is also based in Derby. They fund 7 PhD students. But the fantastic element for me on that project is I have UK students, I have students from Pakistan, I have students from India, I have students from globally, we have a global network and European students. And we arrive in CERN, which is probably one of the most globally global organisations in the world. And what we have then be able to create is a completely different innovation. Because actually, the person from the UK, driven by a Rolls-Royce mindset, comes up with a very different answer than the person from Pakistan, who had a very different mindset from CERN. And that does create innovation. So the environment in which we need to be working is actually one that actually is accepting of different cultural views, accepting of different cultural needs in the global context in which the people come from. Because innovation doesn't happen by somebody sitting on their own in a room hoping that they're going to come up with an idea. It comes because we've actually put significant... Oh, am I just shouting? Or has that gone off? From significant... I'll shout now because I'm used to shouting. It comes from us actually working in a much more interdisciplinary and also interactive environment. And if I give another example, which is completely the opposite from working with someone like CERN, is... It's fine, it just went down, it's fine. Is in the city of Derby, we have the International Photography Festival called Format. And Format actually brings in over 3,000 artists into the city and has provided for the University of Derby one of our most impactful, and we're part of something called a Research Excellence Framework, impactful impact case studies that we've had, because it's been going for 15 years and the artefacts that are coming out of that are actually telling a very different social story, in a sense, giving it a whole context to how the world has changed over the last 20 to 25 years through photography. And actually, we've got as much data from Format as we have by reviewing some of the industry's data through big data and data analytics, which is also looking at the importance of the role that the social scientists can play in actually formulating innovation for the future. So, as I was only meant to be saying hello, I'm just going to summarise what I really believe to be one of the most important things that we have an opportunity for. There is no cost to working globally. And I've seen people struggling with that. The ability to share information across continents should not be as costly as we make it, because we are researchers together. The cost is how do we make sure that we get impactful research and innovation out of that collaboration. I personally believe that we have to invest, particularly for me, in the PhD and the early researchers more significantly than we are doing globally. I think that that has got to be transformational in terms of how we can work more globally, because actually it should be that generation that is actually travelling and getting the bids together and helping us develop a better infrastructure, which should be also global. But at a very, very local level, as a Vice-Chancellor, I would say continue to challenge your university about its ethos, about its mission, about why are we actually in something called a university. Because I do have a slight fear that actually we might just be doing things in a wrong way and not listening to new knowledge and using it wisely. And so my staff who are sitting here probably saying we're trying to do that all the time, Vice-Chancellor, and you're never listening. But I do personally believe that there is an opportunity for universities' voice to be louder, and it has to be louder. And I think actually global research initiatives are probably going to be the most impactful gateway in for us to make a difference, both with industry's view of us in developing innovation with them, and also in terms of how governments view the funding regimes in each of our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mitchell, for that excellent speech. Next speaker, Dr. Ahmed Ghonem, President of the University of Modern Science, Dubai.
The stage as well. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank ASEAN Global University for its invitation for us to participate in such conference, especially for the International Affairs Department. I have contacted a long time with the team and thank you for your efforts to organize such event. I'm Ahmed Ghonem, the President of University of Modern Sciences, Dubai, UAE. I came today to talk about the one theme about the international accreditation, the value proposition, and a look to the future. The international accreditation and has impact on the research outcome. So how can we see that? I will talk with you. First of all, I give a brief about myself. I'm a president of University of Modern Sciences, UMS, which is a private university, offered 18 programs, graduate and postgraduate, undergraduate and postgraduate programs in the field of business, biotechnology, law, and tourism and mass communication. UMS believes that excellence in academic programs and research obtained through a process of international external quality, a quality assurance integrated with the international standards. I'm also the founder of a UK-based company called Sustainable Premium Education Consulting Services, SPICS, which is a base offer consultancy in different fields of the quality assurance and the accreditation, international accreditation, and the research fundraising, professional development. I will start here with the need for international accreditation. Actually, I will be very brief to cover and to reach to the main point of the presentation. The international accreditation is, in my opinion, is very important nowadays, because what I have seen here today, I have seen a lot of students from different countries are studying in foreign university. How can we guarantee that we will offer a degree for the student will be accredited and equivalent in all the countries all over the world? How can we confirm that they will have equal opportunities for the employment in their countries or outside? So I think the international accreditation need came from the student mobility, and what counts as quality needs to be answered internationally. How can we consider that the programs offered here or there is quality programs, and how can we standardize this? International accreditation is formal, independent evaluation, so it will support the universities in self-assessment, and it will equalize the standards. So this will be not related to a local or national qualification, will be different from country to country. How can we benchmark between the programs or the institution themselves? How can we say that this institution in this level or that level, and how can we say that we can work together in any projects? The international accreditation, i.e., establish a framework for international quality standards, provide institutional global credibility and status, increase international acceptance and confidence, and strengthen the global connectivity and partnership. So this will enhance what we are talking from the morning about the partnership, the collaboration, the projects shared between all of us. International quality standard in higher education refer to agreement and consensus about what forms academic quality, including expectation from the faculty members, curriculum, research outcome, and assessment tool of student performance. Benefits of international accreditation. I think the expansion of the student mobility, build cooperation and confidence, improve transparency, assist in benchmarking quality, increase the global employment, enhance the position of the higher education institution, improve the quality programs, attraction of international faculty and researchers, enhance research and research collaboration. International accreditation standards serve as a major tool for self-assessment of the higher education institution and its academic programs. A major focus on program curriculum, program learning outcome, which are in turn consistent with the institutional mission gives programs. The research and outreach activities are embedded in program elements and resources to ensure creation, integration, and application of knowledge. So if we will have this kind of association review, we will try to adapt ourselves to their standards, and we will be in the same line with all the programs follow the association. So I have worked a lot with the different accreditation bodies institutionally and for programs. So I have reviewed before the SACS institutional accreditation, and Southern Association for Colleges and Schools, AACSP for Business, ABIT for Engineering, ASCP, American Society for Clinical Pathology, for Health and Medical Science. So we are trying to focus and we are trying to improve. All of these accreditation bodies are under the umbrella of accreditation association like SHIA, Council of Academic Accreditation and Quality, which will be the accrediting the accreditors. So we will align the standards and we will try to improve our performance to reach this line, which the international line. Student interaction and effectiveness of teaching and learning resources, one of also the outcome will be enhanced through the international accreditation. Evaluation of areas like research funding and support professional staff will be evaluated through the international accreditation as well, and will be improved and enhanced through the accreditation body to reach the international accreditation from any of these associations. The international accreditation will keep the institution to continue the improvement in these kind of areas. This is the global growth of international accreditation, and we have to prove that there is a global accreditation or international accreditation has been grown through the few decades. Also, cross-border review will help to ensure implementation of sustainable development, and this is what the goal of UNESCO. And the World of Higher Education has already been in discussion to establish a single set of international quality standards for higher education. So this is a UNESCO brief as well. Here, how can we measure the impact on research? The role of international accreditation on research and development has been vital and varied. International accreditation encourage, support, and evaluate research and scholarly activities. So this is one of the main criteria of any international accreditation standard through any of the accreditation bodies. The quality and level of student research embedded into programs curriculum based on the integration of qualitative research practices within the institution and result effective. Research-based student learning outcome. So this is also will be evaluated and will be more qualitative. Evaluation in line with the international accreditation standard reflected practice-oriented and scholarly development activities that support integration of relevant current practices and management. So this will be mainly the improvement of the research. The international accreditation also help an institution achieve research excellency through the cooperative relationship for research, scholarship, and creative activities. Attraction of research funding, and in the morning I suggest this kind of consortium or association to have themes, and we will get these themes for sure from industry. To have these themes will get benefit on the industry, and they will pay for it. So if we need fund, if we need to increase the fund of research, we have to search about the areas need to be covered, the problems need to be solved. So we have to link between the industry and the research institution, but it will be not individual efforts. We will need to be accumulative efforts through organization or association like what was suggested. International cooperation among faculty, student, alumni, fellow and industries on current and innovative research ideas. Faculty exchange, and this is one of the main areas, will be also improved through the international accreditation standard implementation. Internationalization of research strategies and initiatives. And we have to say that we are here, but what about the other world? We need to systemize the integration between the colleges and schools all over the world through international and global associations. Here I need to apply this for ASEAN and Indian higher education. So if we overview the system here, we will find that the ASEAN Indian higher education system said that institutional accreditation and the program will be embedded in the institutional accreditation. But only few systems here will review programs as well. So the program international accreditation will be one of the main values will be added to the institution and to the program if we will apply the international standards. International accreditation is also another process to get higher education programs accredited and have international standards embedded in programs. Its delivery outcome to achieve excellence in education and research. The conclusion here of my presentation will be excellence in education and research can be well achieved when the system of higher education is set in accordance to the international standards and requirement. International accreditation allows the mobility of higher education stakeholders, not only the student, the faculty members, the system, the programs itself, through the world, thus connects the higher education institution and its system with one another through set of education standards. This connection, open platform for many and very innovative ideas and exchange, and thus referred as a globalization of higher education. So this is a small example of the globalization of ideas. Globalization will be in turn to yield seed of continuous improvement and further excellency of institutions in education and research. So here we have a small example. We need to expand it. We need to centralize, systemize under the umbrellas and standards will be approved, and we will share also to improve the standards of international bodies. So let's work on this and in this perspective and improve it, not only apply it, but we need to improve the standards. We need to work to review and if we will be a part, we will review and we will send our feedback to review. So the most recent paper I have published is about the regional accreditation body for industrial design programs. So if we have, this is a very specific and very narrow area, but if we will have standardized all the programs offered in this area, we will have more impact and more benefit on our students, and we will be able to exchange student and faculty members and programs. So this is a very small example, and we can apply it on humanities, engineering, so we can apply it in health and medical science. So I took a very narrow area about industrial design. How can we make a body, accreditation body, and the shared standards between all the programs offered in a region, and then we will expand it to international. So I think we have to formalize our work and our efforts here to be under the umbrella of official association to have more impact. Thank you very much, and again I will thank the team of organizing this event and inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, President Dr. Kernan. May I now invite Professor Dr. Sampan Singarajwapar, Vice President of Chiang Mai University, Thailand.
So there's not very many Thai as tall as I am. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this young but very promising future. My talk is a little bit biased towards science technology, but it doesn't mean that I don't ignore social science and humanities, but I have to admit that Thailand, I think, like country around the world now, that the research funding for social science, humanities, and even basic science is become less and less. The government they ask for economic impact as well as the society. So we have to accept that fact. But anyhow, I think it's a role of the university to promote research in social science, humanities, and basic science as well. So the motto of Chiang Mai University, as you can see on the screen, so we try to be innovative, but at the same time, we value the nature and culture very high. Just give you some glimpse of Chiang Mai. This is the panoramic view of Chiang Mai, and the mountain on the west. Chiang Mai University is located somewhere at the foothill to the west of the city. On top of the hills, we have this beautiful temple called Rajatep. It's become a tourist destination. And surrounding the city is the beautiful landscape. And also, city is quite old in terms of the Thai standard. We are about 800 years old now. So we have a lot of cultural heritage, you see. Chiang Mai University is only a little half century old, not relatively young. We are ranked third in the country compared to the top two, which is a century old one, and 96 in last year in QS Asian University ranking, and top 10 in ASEAN countries. We provide all the whole spectrum of human knowledge from health science, science, technology, and social science and humanity. The student body, we have around 1,000 degree program foreign students. My talk today involved with the research. Actually, my job is try to make everyone in the campus happy to do research. So that's why I'm here to talk about the research ecosystem. We have to look at the national strategy for research and innovation. Thailand has been struggling with in the middle income trap for more than a decade. So the current government, they came up with the new strategy to bring the country out of that trap by introducing their grand strategy called Thailand 4.0. I think which is nothing more than the context of Industry 4.0. I think everyone now has to talk about Industry 4.0, otherwise you will be left out. There are 10 targeted industry for the Thai government. We have the existing, what they call S-curve, where we have to uplift these 5 industries, and then we have to start with the new S-curve industry, including those automation, robotics, aviation, digital. So people talk about Internet of Things, people talk about artificial intelligence, people talk about machine learning. So we have to get in line with that. And another tool, which is a big one for the Thai government, is they initiated a grand mega project called Eastern Economic Corridor. It's the largest investment in ASEAN countries for the next 5 years. The location of this is in the eastern seaboard, including 3 provinces just east of Bangkok, to make the area become the gateway to Asia. As you are all aware that the economy of East Asia, China and South Asia, India, And ASEAN contribute to around 1/3 of the world economy at the moment. And the population is more than 50% of the world population. A part of EEC is what they call EEC innovation. There are three technology that is the target. The first one is biotechnology. Another one is automation, robotics. The other one is the space technology. So they try to set up what they call the biopolis, the police, space, innopolis, where the university has to be part of that, because the government has said the majority of researchers is in the university, not somewhere else. So that's why we have to take part in that. So the innovation ecosystem, not only in EEC, I mean all over the country. So we have to have academia, researchers and research institute to be part of that. And of course, the government, they provide the funding. And another player, the key player is the industry. So that kind of a triple helix. In EECI, I mentioned that we're going to have a biopolis, Aripolis. These two hubs would be located in what we call Wangjan Valley in Rayong province. There's a new university just like the AGU. It's probably the same age. Now they just compared to those 2 century-old university, this 10 years old college, they got highest nature index already. So that's an example for NGU that if you have a clear strategy, a clear policy, then you can make it. If you don't adapt yourself, even though you are established one, you may be something of the past. And these interesting figures. So the government, the Thai government, they have projected that the need for the manpower, the knowledge worker, to support this EEC project. The qualification of the graduates have to be such a demand. So that is a big question for the Thai university. Can we meet that demand? So what should we do to provide our students with that knowledge and skill required for such a new demand of the Talent 4.0? First, I think we have to talk to our professor, our lecturer, that you've got to change. But we all aware that old habit die hard. Not easy. The deans, it is a challenging job for the deans to change your professor, change the way they teach their students. It's not easy, but we have to do it. Change the curriculum, change the way the teacher used to teach the students. We have to use the new technology, so on. So we have to change. I think the first key player is our teacher, the teacher. And then I think the students, they change is a lot easier than the teacher. And we should to improve the R&D capability of the university as well. First thing we have to do is we have to convince our staff, our faculty member to go out of their comfort zone. I mean, the professor, they are, they like to do research just for their own curiosity, right? Their own interest. But now they have to change that mindset. They have to work more closely with the industry, with the private sector. To bridge the gap between university and industry, we are lucky enough to get some support from the Ministry of Science and Technology to build the first regional science park on campus. Actually, that is the round-shaped building is the auditorium. It's not a spacecraft. Actually, the concept is the rice grain, because northern Thailand is are well known for rice paddy. And so the Northern Science Park on the campus will be a kind of a tool to bridge the gap between academia and the industry, and also provide the venue for our own faculty, our own students to do more startups here. For the research ecosystem on the campus, we try to leverage the efficiency and quality of our own Center of Excellence, and we try to adopt the proactive strategy to scale research fundings from the public and also from private sector. And of course, we promote the international collaboration with leading universities. Actually, we collaborate from the top-ranked university until the one that interested to do research with us. So it doesn't really matter what the ranking of that university is. We try to promote the quality of research. We have to do more kind of a multidisciplinary research, not the monodisciplinary one, because to come up with the solution for the complex problem at present, we need to have a multidisciplinary team to tackle such problem. Also, we try to upgrade our own network of central lab facilities. To produce more innovation, of course, we need more and more of translational research. This is also one of the challenge for me. We have to have people from various disciplines working together. Science, pharmacy, agriculture, medicine, engineering. Not easy, for university professor from different disciplines to work with one another. And another mechanism is we establish our own holding company to promote technology transfer and to promote the startups among our own staff. This is just set up. We get to see the outcome of this holding company. To promote the technology transfer and to promote the startups among the staff and students, we have to set up what we call the innovation ecosystem to bring the research from faculty, from our graduate, and translate into more innovation. And lastly, we still need to produce a new knowledge. Luckily, that the Thai government, they pay some attention to this. They are starting talking about frontier research. We have a lot of young staff graduating from Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge. Come back home, they are struggling. So if the Thai government, they are serious about this, I think we could have a new platform to support those young staff to do more frontier research. And we can't do it by ourselves, so this is why we need to have a collaboration with other foreign institutions, including the JTU, and including everyone who are interested in joining us. I'd like to end my talk with this one. To this fast-changing world, do we act fast enough to counteract the challenges and opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution, bearing in mind that the fifth one is waiting around the corner? If we don't act fast enough, society may say we don't need university. And I'm afraid that if we don't act fast enough, then university will be something of the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sampan. Next speaker, Professor Jun Liu, who's a Vice Provost for Global Affairs at Stony Brook University in New York.
Even I feel very short. I need to stand now. So this is has a high platform, high standards for us. Yeah, I have two. If you click that, just click the two. I will do it later. Yeah, yes. Okay. Empty? Okay, there's some technical problem. So there's nothing there? Okay. So I originally prepared two. One is a 1 minute video. It will take another minute to download, so I will eliminate that. So I'm going to use one, just OP Jindo. Yes, Jindo. Yes. Very good. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank the Office of the Global Affairs and International Initiatives of the OP Jindal International University. I'm watching how you feel. I purposefully, as a linguist, altered two words. The correct word is Office of International Affairs and Global Initiatives at OP Jindal Global University. What I just said was Office of Global Affairs and International Initiatives at OP Jindal International University. Do you see the difference? We might feel the difference, but we might interpret the difference differently. So the key and the puzzle, since this is afternoon, I try to wake you up. Okay? So the key is the word interdisciplinary or international, the word inter. In the United States, we always tend to use multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary. interdisciplinary, and they might mean different things. But the common understanding is whatever we do, it is always driven by the problem, which could be global problem. Then different disciplines will gather together to tackle that problem. But interdisciplinary research at universities can also mean different things. Again, in my field, linguistics, we have those linguists who are known as psycholinguistics, whose main job is to study the process of language learning and language acquisition. And we also have a group of researchers who are sociolinguistics, whose main research is to see how language is functioned in a society. We also have a group of researchers who are neurolinguists, whose main research is to look at the brain function in receiving and using the language and brain storage when someone has accident. And we also have a group of linguists who are functional linguistics, and they try to look at the theory of the linguistics and how they function in terms of the syntax and morphology, etc. So this, within an institution, is considered as an interdisciplinary program, or the program, or the department. So I would say that when we think about training our students in the future, we should be aware of the local, the basic stuff, rather than going too far. But at the same time, when we design curriculum, we need to look at what is needed in the future. Those who are in business school might be able to learn law in order to function better in the future. Those in communication might be able to learn some of the sociology stuff in order to deal with people better. So I would encourage all of us to think about those issues. And I think as a university, our mission is to focus on student success. And student success cannot only be measured by how many years they take to graduate, whether they get a job. You have to look a little bit further to see once they get the job, how far can they go? So they require not only intelligence, IQ, but also EQ, emotional intelligence. Those with high IQ can easily be employed, but those with high EQ can be better promoted. So those are the future we need to think wisely in order to really design our curriculum and focus on what we're going to talk about, global research or interdisciplinary or international research. So here I want to briefly introduce my university. Our university is called SUNY, State University of New York. There are 64 universities in our system. Among 64, there are 4 research universities. Stony Brook University, together with SUNY Buffalo University, Albany University, and Binghamton University, these are considered 4 research centers or 4 research universities. So currently, we are ranked pretty highly in the world and in the nation. According to US News and World Report, Stony Brook University is ranked 80 among all the universities in the United States. We have roughly about 27,000 students, and 2/3 of them are undergraduate, and 1/3 are graduate students. We have different disciplines. The only thing we do not have is law. We have a medical school, we have engineering, we have social sciences, we have humanities, and so we are heavily research-focused universities. And we have 4 Nobel Prize winners in economics, physics, medicine, and almost 40 Academy Fellows. And among the Nobel Prize winners, one of them is the inventor of MRI, which is popular around the world in medicine. So let me show you a few examples of interdisciplinary research by what we mean within our campus. So we certainly commit to research and excellence, more than 1,500 inventions and also 450 patents. And among the 64 universities in New York, Stony Brook alone has more than 93% of the patents coming from our university. We have top 40 institutions funded by the National Science Foundation, And also total expenditures on organized research is about 210 million, reflecting activity in about 1,200 projects. So it's a very highly productive research. And we also focus on internship leadership opportunities. So we are lucky. The theme of this afternoon is how does the institution support or create an ethos or environment to support international interdisciplinary research. So we are lucky because we are half an hour away from one of the 8 top national labs in the United States called Brookhaven National Lab, focused on energy and sustainability. And half of our researchers in science and STEMs are co-appointed in national lab. So that creates the huge opportunity for scientists to have hands-on experience. That certainly encourage many students have opportunity to do internship or to watch how scientists are doing in the lab. So that kind of collaboration certainly created opportunities for students rather than teaching and they don't know what to do. I think what we debated this morning is hands-on experience. And it is very important. What I said is experiential learning. So we need to think about how students learn rather than how students listen to professor. Nowadays, they don't have to come to the classroom. They can learn equally well. There is an experiment at Stanford University. A professor walked into the first year classroom and for international business students and said that you don't have to come to my class, but you have to make a decision. You have to do what, according to my assignments on the internet, but on the last day of final examination, come to the class. So immediately, half of the students left, never returned to the classroom. So by the end of the semester, the professor gave them a test. Those who did not come to the classroom performed higher on average than those who came to the classroom. That means the traditional way of learning should be challenged, because we are in the information age. And that is what I consider the interdisciplinarity. The students can learn far better, and they can be driven by the questions to look for information and acquire skills outside the traditional classroom. So another example is relativistic heavy ion colliders. So what is a world-class particle accelerator for nuclear physics research, which is well known in the lab, and that actually has attracted the researchers from multiple disciplines. Researchers explore the origins of the universe. As you can see, there are more than 1,000 theoretical experimental scientists from around the world that collaborate on this particular project. We also have a national synchrotron light source 2, the world's most advanced synchrotron light source, which also is a combination of researchers from all over the world. And we have other research in the medical area, such as cancer research. And we have engineering-driven medicine. And we are looking at the intersection of the biology, medicine, and engineering. And they're all driven by the problems. And then researchers come together, and the resources are allocated by the National Science NSF grant, or by the lab, or by the university. MRI discovered at Stony Brook University, as I mentioned, medicine imagery laboratory is also another example of interdisciplinary research. And another example in the social sciences is a city initiative. We try to work with professors, researchers from around the world in all Olympic cities to look at the city initiatives like security, pollution, transportation. And another example is our collaboration with the university in Hong Kong and Shanghai to look at the East-West medicine to treat post-surgery pain relief. So all those kind of disciplines eventually will solve the human problem, solve the problems. So I would say that when we think about interdisciplinary research, we need to first of all identify the major problems we need to conquer, and then utilize all the resources you have, and also help students to understand the nature of those programs. So in all, I know that the time is also limited. I just want to say that Stony Brook University is considered as a research-heavy university, and we are looking for collaborators around the world. So I look forward to the opportunities to talk with many of you, and we are interested in student mobility, dual degree programs, not necessarily in the same program, but different programs. For instance, students studying biology in your university for 2 years can come over studying engineering. A student studying English for 2 years in your university can come over study business, study communication or journalism. So the students will have multidisciplinary talent and skills in order to be more marketable. If you have 2 degrees with 1 discipline, that does not mean much with the global ability of the courses taught around the world. So in a word that we are one of the we call the 62 association in the United States called the AAU, Association of American University. Half of them are private universities like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. Half of them are public universities, but they're all called Ivy League universities. So it is a public university that is challenged by resources, but it is a public university that has a mission to help students succeed and to help those students with low income to succeed. So I'm afraid that time is up, and thank you for your listening. Thank you again for your organization.
Thank you very much, Professor Liu. May I now invite Professor Dr. Ademaman Suherman, who is from the Department of International Law, Jenderal Sudirman University, Indonesia.
I want to put not the spider. This one. Yeah. Okay, very good afternoon for the speaker and delegates. And before I start my presentation, I would like to thank for Ms. Scarlett Gule and also Mr. Arunda Dari, who already thanked me in this international conference. Okay, let me introduce. I'm Professor Ademaman Suherman. I am as the Dean of Faculty of Law, Jenderal Sudirman University. I come from Indonesia, so I've been here twice. Last year I've been here as well, and of course, before I start my presentation, I would like to figure out my presentation into section. First, I would like to introduce my university, and then the second one, I would like to elaborate about Indonesian government concerning international collaboration in research. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start my presentation. This is my university. The name of the hero in Indonesia who fight against the Dutch and Japan. Even my education as I did my master degree in the Netherlands. This is kind of the message from our nation. This is one of the most heroic people in Indonesia. And then this university is established under President's Decree number 195, dated 20 September 1963. Yes. Jenderal Sudirman University, as we call it, UNSUD, was formally established and officially opened by Higher Education Minister, Professor Tayyip Hanifjaya, PhD, in Purwokerto. So the next one is about history. Initially, UNSUD consisted of only 3 faculties. In the first step, there's only 3 faculties. First, agriculture, and then biology, economics, and then after that, UNSUD opened several faculties which include animal sciences, laws, and then social and political sciences, medicine, health sciences, mathematics and science, engineering, humanities, fisheries and marine science, and School of Postgraduates. And then our vision, our university vision in 2034 is to be global and recognized university as a center of sustainable development of resources and global wisdom. So why I'm here today? So it's just how to make this vision come true, because our rector has assigned me to come to attend this international conference and to promote and to share the message that we are really committed to make international collaboration with all the universities all over the world. And then it is about location. It's very important because how to reach this place, yes. And I'm very appreciative of, I'm very thankful for Mr. Rahul Bandar already visited my university, and also together with Ms. Nugure Kalyani. Maybe you know that Indonesia just the big University of Indonesia and the Gajah Mada University. My university is located in Central Java, nearby Gajah Mada University and also University of Indonesia. If you want to travel to my city, it's 1 hours by bike from Jakarta, or maybe 2 hours by train from Yogyakarta. Yeah. So it's a very nice city, and the highest mountain in Central Java. It's more or less about 3,500 above sea levels. Yes, it's very high mountain in Central Java. And then this is my the first campus, the total area, and you can see this figure. And the next one, this is my campus map, as in brief presentation. And then UNSUD student start in 2015. UNSUD student has increased more than 21,475 come from all around Indonesia and several countries as well. In 2015, UNSUD has 1,055 lecturers, which consist of doctor and master, and also the library, and then this is UNSUD facility. This is student access center, and then convention hall, guest house, and hotspot area, media center, and sports center as well, and student dormitory. This come from the government. They help us to provide dormitory for the children. Yes. And then the other fact that UNSUD has collaborated with several domestic higher education, government, both provincial and also agencies, banks and industries. And also collaboration with overseas institutions has also been established in the area of research and development in marine science, staff development program, agrogeological development, strategic planning, and university management training, and student and staff exchange. And then the next I would like to focus on the international collaboration. Our university already collaborated with some university and some institution. First with the Center for Tropical Marine Ecology in CMT at the University of Bremen, Germany, and then Fraunhofer EMFT, Germany, University of Williams, Canada, and University for Cézanne-Aix-Marseille, France, and the University of Tokyo, Japan, University of Utara Malaysia, Hebei University, in the people of the Republic of China, and also with national, maybe it's IAGI University in Taiwan. And international collaboration also we already established with Nara University and Chiba University and Kinkin University and Mahasarakan University of Thailand. And last year I already signed the MOU and MOA with OP Jinda University last year. Yes. And also today I attend this conference together with 15 students from Indonesia, and maybe in tonight we have a cultural performance from the students of Indonesia. Just in principle, I would like to make a single MOU, but it's come to. Then we have many MOU, but it doesn't work at all. Yeah, and then also this kind of center of excellence, center of rural development, empowerment, appropriate technology enhancement is great. And Center for Climate Change and Coastal and Mangrove Ecosystem, and then Center for Tropical Animal Production. And then is the most important thing I think in this conference. We discuss about research, so we have some research institutes. First, Research Center for Development, Research Center for Environmental Study, Center for Technology Development, Center for Disaster Mitigation, Center for Business Incubator, and Research Center for Democracy, Culture and Tourism. Research Center for Food and Nutrition, and Center for Intellectual Property Rights, and Center for Community Development. The next, I think we come to part of study program, the undergraduate program, agronomy, agribusiness and agricultural technology, food science and technology, animal sciences, biology, mathematics, physics and chemistry, marines, science, aquaculture and aquatic resource management. And then undergraduate program in engineering, civil engineering, and then electrical engineering, geology engineering, informatic engineering, and industrial engineering. And in medicine, medicine, dentistry, public health, nursing, pharmacy, and nutrition science. And also we have still undergraduate program in social economy and humanity science, economic, management, accounting, law, sociology, public administration, and communication, politics, and international relations, Indonesian literature and English literature, and Japanese literature. And then we have international office as well, the IO, International Relations Office activities. We already have a non-degree program, joint group for international seminar on public administration, and also we have some collaboration with other universities, Mahasarakan, Ibaraki, and then many other social university partners from overseas. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is my first section. Then I would like to move to another topic that's just a brief elaboration about Indonesian policy in research and regulation. It's really important because even we are going to be more global in research, in collaboration, but we have to consider about national regulation, about for the license. Every country, I think, has its regulation. The rules and regulations should be obeyed by all the researchers. As in my country, in Indonesia, in Indonesian perspective. Okay. According to Indonesian laws and regulations, yes, international research cooperation has been regulated in the Republic of Indonesian Government, Regulation number 41, 2006. But basically means that Indonesia is really concerned with international collaboration in research. So the government regulates it properly. And then also in this regulation, the researchers from abroad should have kind of license from the government. And then if you talk about the source of funding in research, I think in Indonesia and also in my university, I think about the funding, it's not really a big deal. I mean, it's quite has a lot of funding from the government, because in my university, all the teaching staff should have international collaboration research, but the requirement should has a kind of agreement with international partner. And then I can say here that the number of funding is 125 Indonesian million rupiahs, Indonesian rupiah. So it's quite a big number. Yes, 125 million per project. So, but in reality, it's quite difficult for the teaching staff to collaborate with international partner. So it's the requirement. First, we have to show that we have agreement with international partner. Then the central government or every university offered us a kind of research grants. Yes, it's big. It's quite big for Indonesian researchers, I think. So to this forum, I would like to invite all the delegates and also the researchers from abroad to cooperate with Indonesian researchers. That it's quite enough funding from the government and also from universities, like from research center in Jenderal Suriname University, and also from the central government, and also I think the same thing with the University of Erlangga. That Indonesian government is really concerned to make international collaboration in research. I think that's my presentation. First of all, I would like to thank again that I have introduced my institution, my university, and come and visit us in Indonesia. If one day you come to Indonesia, just come and see me in Indonesia. And then also I have presented the policy of Indonesian government concerning the research policy. Thank you very much.